Mr. Strider, can you hear me okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. I had just begun calling the case. I had announced the caption essentially, and I was poised to ask Mr. Holmes if you could please, sir, briefly summarize the position you have and the prayer that you have of the court at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. On behalf of Number One Wichita Investments LLC, this comes before the court as a landlord-tenant matter. It is under a oral lease agreement between the parties for the property at 12 Street in El Dorado, Kansas. My client, it's their position that they served a 3-day notice for the non-payment of rent. They served that notice on 11/5 of 2023. On that notice, they're alleging that rent had been unpaid on from July through November's rent for a total of $2,265 that was owing. Within those 3 days, they did not get any payment, and the defendants are still in possession. We filed this action on November 28th, and we're seeking only possession of the property. We're not seeking a money judgment at this time. And so my client is here asking the court for possession.
All right. Ms. Eustace, what's your position on the matter, and do you have any particular requests or prayers of the court at this time?
I'm Trisha, and I live here with Angie. I have been present in the house since September of 23.
Wait a second.
I
Wait a second, ma'am. Who are you again?
my name is Trisha Williams, and
Okay.
the landlord knows I'm here also.
Okay, and how are you involved in the matter? I'm not sure I understand.
I live here with Angie. I'm the roommate.
Before we go forward, I do just want to clarify one thing. I think, Mr. Holmes, you can assist me with this, but were your pleadings directed at Ms. Eustace, Mr. and Ms. Strider, and any other persons who could be living at the premise?
At the time of filing, yes, the notice was directed at Angie Eustace, David Strider, and Gina Strider, and all others residing there.
Okay. Ms. Williams, I will let you go ahead and speak. Ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, I have lived here since September, and I moved in this house to help Angie out with the repairs on this house because the house was left in a complete mess. I have taken so many pictures of all the work that I have done here, what's been done, what's not been completed, so on and so forth. We did also try to get in touch with the landlord. For months, we tried to get a hold of him, and we were going to have the rent caught up to a church, but we couldn't get him to call us back. We left emails, we left many voicemails, and he would not call us back. He literally called me back on Thursday just last week and tried to bribe me with $500 to move out of his house. And because I didn't get that done in time, because I wasn't out over the weekend, that got dropped, which isn't the problem. My problem is the work that I've done. Can we continue this so that I can file papers, so that I can file a labor lien on the house?
Well, the question I'm having at this point is just wondering if this matter was filed back on November 28th, and now we're into January, not quite a month and a half later. Why are we getting to the point of wanting to do those things at this point? I'm not sure. And Ms. Balin,
So because the landlord called me on Thursday, offered me $500 to move out of here, which I agreed to that. Right now, we're in the process of moving. I didn't want to have to file the labor lien until he told me no today. Literally, he wasn't going to give me the money the money, we were going to use that money to get into our next place.
Okay.
And now he said no, which really made me angry because of all the work that I've done.
Okay.
I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to do anything about anything. But now, we were depending on that money. And now he's not doing anything. Now I'm coming back and I want to file a labor leave for all the work.
Okay. Mr. Strider, was there anything you wanted to add, sir?
What? I can't hardly hear you.
Was there anything that you wish to add at this time, sir?
Yeah, so I moved out on July the 1st. I got my new rent agreement here, so I don't know what's.
Okay. Mr. Holmes, do you want to respond to either Ms. Williams or Mr. Strider?
Well, my client is present here today, and we're ready to move forward with a trial. I don't know whether I didn't hear anything, whether they dispute paying on the 3-day notice or whether they owe it. But we're certainly ready to go forward on a trial. My client, Chris Johns, is here today. And so we would be seeking possession.
Okay. And Ms. Williams, I'm a little bit confused. You were saying that you were in the process of moving out anyway, if I understood that correctly.
We're packing correctly, yes.
Okay.
But the money that Mr. Johns offered us to get out, which is fine, he offered us the money and we were going to use that money to go to the next place. Does that make sense? Part of that money was going towards rent for our next house. And we're in the process of moving is not a problem. We'll get out of this house. That's not a big deal. But I mean, it's right after Christmas. My roommate's got COVID. We're kind of stuck here between a rock and a hard place here. And when he just backed out like that, it upset me.
And
so, who's going to pay me for all the work that I've done? I've replaced floors all the way to the floor joist. I've spent many freaking hours painting and replacing ceiling fans and buying new stoves and a hot water tank. And I mean, who's going to replace all that? Who's going to pay me back for that stuff?
Okay. Mr. Holmes.
yeah, if I may just briefly, there were certainly negotiations before today between my client as well as the residents in the property. But we're of course here today because nothing had been worked out.
Okay. Well, I certainly am willing to go forward with a trial today. If we were to do that, we would probably reasonably have to put this to the end of the docket. It would probably take a while to have a trial. And I don't want to misunderstand where you're coming from, Miss Williams. Certainly, Miss Eustace, you're at this point, at least, allowing Miss Williams to speak for you as I'm understanding it. But if we're all in agreement that they're seeking that you move out and you're wanting to move out, I don't know that there's a dispute left.
Now I have to be able to come up with all the money. I'm sorry. Now I have to be able to come up with all the money, the rent and the deposit to be able to get into the next place. Literally, I'm not working right now, and all of my extra money was going towards this house. So right now, we need that money to be able to get into the next place. So, I mean, if I can get a couple weeks to be able to get out of here, fine, we'll go. That's not a problem. We just have to be able to have the funds to do it. And right now, we don't have the funds to do that.
Well, and I wasn't party to the negotiations, and I'm not in any way demeaning what you're saying, Miss Williams, about what you were understanding of those things. But I do think that I'm understanding Mr. Holmes' position that negotiations such as they were, contemplated that you would be out of the property, which you aren't. And so that could impact the position of the plaintiff with respect to any funds that they had earlier indicated might be forthcoming if you were indeed out of the unit. But I think that in a big picture way, if there are other things you want to add, ma'am, if you want to have a trial on this question, we can have that trial. We can set it for the end of the docket today. But if you're telling me, and I don't want to put any words in your mouth, I want to hear your heart on this, and I want you to feel as if you have been heard. But if you're telling me that the real issue is just that you were angered because the negotiations didn't work out the way you wanted to, but you are in agreement that you're willing to move out of the house, I don't know that there's a reason to stick around for a trial. If everybody's on the same page about moving out of the house, it seems like any other claims you might have would be potentially separate to this case. Because the
Right.
only
But
prayer
I have to be
before the
able to come
court,
up with the funds to be able to move.
well, like I said, if you want to have a trial on this matter, we can set it for the end of the docket. If you're taking the position you're moving out anyway, and I don't know that this court or any court could ever take a position that an eviction where, you know, there's an allegation at least that rent hasn't been paid for, you know, some months at this point, that it would be stayed pending the ability of the person being evicted to afford new housing. I don't know that there's a linkage between those two
Okay,
things.
but that's why we were doing the repairs in this house, was to be able to cover the rent. That's why we were doing the repairs. It was my understanding that I was in here to do repairs on his home to take it off of the rent. That's why I'm doing the repairs. And if it's not going to be taken off of the rent, then who's going to pay me back for that?
Well, and I
Does
don't
that
know
make
what
sense?
kind of agreement you have or what kind of documentation you have. But if you're telling me you want to have a trial on that question, we can have a trial. We can do it later this afternoon if you're prepared to present the reasons why you think those are impactful on the question of rent. But they're not asking you for any rent at this point. They're just asking for possession of the premises.
Which is fine. I mean, if I don't have to be out of here by tomorrow, you know what I mean? I need a couple days to be able to get out of here. I
Well,
have to be able to come up with $500 more to be able to get out of here.
Mr. Holmes, what
We're
would your
depending on that money that he was
expectation
going to
be
give us.
about the preparation of paperwork and the timeline before Miss Eustace and Miss Williams would need to be out of the house?
It was a little hard to hear, but I believe you're asking how much time to vacate. Is that what?
Right. How long do you anticipate the time would be required to prepare your paperwork, and when do you think that the Miss Williams and Miss Eustace would reasonably have to be expecting to be out of the premises?
As the court knows, the writ can be served at any point by the sheriff within 14 days of its issuance pursuant to statute. I'm not sure when the sheriff would have availability to serve that. It would be impossible for me to know what the sheriff intends to do. I don't know whether my client, Mr. Johns, is
Sheriffs
willing
work pretty
to
quick over
grant
here in
any more
Butler
time
County.
and stay that writ until a certain date.
Well, do you want to, if your client's present, I think basically Miss Williams is willing to acquiesce to the order, but just wants a few days to be able to organize her move. And if you want to mute and speak with your client about whether there's any 48, 72, 120-hour timeline that you'd be willing to submit to, you're welcome to do that.
Mr.
We
Johns,
could just get a week.
Yes.
is there any time period that you're willing to give additional before the writ would be issued?
Butler County works pretty fast with the sheriff.
I mean, this position is I just want possession of the property as soon as possible. I mean, they've already been there since July. They haven't paid rent since then. So my position is I'd like the property back as soon as possible.
Which is fine. You're going to get your house. We just need a little bit more time to be able to come up with money.
Okay. Well, based upon my client's position, I don't believe that they're willing to give any additional time other than the time that the sheriff would take to.
Okay, well, let's just set this for trial then at the end of the docket, and I'll finish the other cases and we can take it up at that time. And Ms. Williams, you can use the time in the meantime to be see if any documents that you think are relevant are available, and potentially documents that you could file with the court. And we'll take up the case shortly. And if you would, please, I don't know where I'm getting the feedback, but it might be your microphone, and you might want to go on mute until we can take up the case.
It might be mine because I have you on a speaker right now, so I apologize for that.
Okay, that's all right.
I'll turn you off right now. Sorry.
23 LM 300116. Mr. Holmes appeared for First Wichita Investments. Ms. Eustace, Ms. Williams, Mr. Strider appear in person and pro se. Mr. Holmes, do you have anything you'd like to say by way of an opening statement in the case, sir?
If I may, just briefly, I did get a chance during the break in between the last time that we were speaking about the matter. And I believe Ms. Williams indicated that she just wanted a couple of days to move out. I spoke with my client, and he is agreeable to refrain from filing the writ of restitution until Thursday at noon, giving her a few days to collect her belongings if she's agreeable to that.
Ms. Williams, does that minister to your concern, ma'am?
Actually, with Angie having COVID, aren't we not supposed to be around people for like 10 days?
I don't know what the latest CDC protocols
I'm
would
not
be.
sure either, but she literally just took the test today and it's positive for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to show them it so they don't think we're lying?
Well, I don't take issue with what you're saying. I don't need to see the test.
Okay.
But I guess what Mr. Holmes is proposing is that he would wait until Thursday at noon to submit the paperwork. The court would get to the paperwork as quickly as was practicable, but it would potentially take a little bit of time for the court to sign the document and for the sheriff to serve the document. So I guess what I'm wanting to know is, and I don't want you to feel any pressure on this. I want you to know I'm poised to have the trial. All the witnesses are here. But thank you. If you're of the position that kind of at least ministers to what your concerns were, and I know it doesn't answer every question, but if that's a satisfactory conclusion, I think that it seems to have been the case that the principal at First Wichita Investment LLC was hearing a little bit about your concern and what you were saying, and have offered to do that as a way to hopefully resolve this matter as amicably as possible. But again, I don't want you to feel any pressure to do that. I'm happy to hear the evidence in the case, but if that is in line with what you were mostly concerned about, I'm also happy just to conclude this case at this time.
Okay. It does with the moving out part. My issue now is the work. I know that he's not going to charge for the back rent or whatever. He's not trying to get any, but the work that I have done literally exceeds the rent money. I've replaced floor all the way to the floor joists, sir.
It kind of sounds like
in 3 different rooms.
Well, and it kind of
and I
sounds
can
like,
show you pictures. I can show you proof of the work that I've done.
well, it sounds like at this point we're probably in a place to need to go ahead with the trial then. And I'll ask Mr. Holmes, do you have an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. Just briefly, the evidence you're going to hear today is that this is a landlord-tenant matter. that my client, number one Wichita Investments LLC, manages a property at 1241 Sheldon Street, El Dorado, Kansas, and that there is a lease agreement with individuals. Some are named in the petition in the 3-day, some are evidently unnamed, as Miss Williams is here. But nonetheless, the testimony of my client is that a 3-day notice was prepared and served on 11/5 of 2023 at noon and delivered by my client. Within those 3 days, there was no payment, in that the defendants are still in possession of the premises. My client is here today, not seeking a money judgment, but seeking possession of the premises.
All right. Miss Williams, do you have anything you'd like to say by way of an opening statement, ma'am?
No, sir.
Miss Eustace, anything from you, ma'am?
No, no, sir.
All right. Mr. Strider, anything from you, sir?
So how does this still affect me? I mean, I don't even live there.
Well, and
No,
to
they
that
haven't lived
extent-
here the whole time.
to that extent, it might not affect you. I mean, basically, they're only seeking return of the premises to the owner of the property. And so if you're, and I'm understanding maybe you're long since moved out of those
Yeah.
premises,
Oh,
the matter directly before the court today might not impact you directly at all.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Holmes, do you want to call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll call Christopher Johns.
Mr. Johns, if you could please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give and the cause now and hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Mr. Holmes?
Mr. Johns, can you state your name for the record?
Christopher Johns.
And do you, what's your position within number one Wichita Investments LLC?
I am the sole owner of the LLC.
And as the owner, do you manage or own a property at 1241 Sheldon Street in El Dorado?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the residents who live there or purported to live there, Angie Eustace, David Strider, and Gina Strider?
Yes.
And were those individuals living there under any kind of a lease agreement?
When I purchased the property, I purchased it in a portfolio, and so I believe David and Gina were existing, so I kind of inherited them. And then my understanding is the other parties moved in after the fact. So I'm not sure exactly when though.
So when did you purchase this property?
One moment, and I will tell you. It's been several years since I've owned it. One moment.
Yeah.
Opening it up right now. We purchased it in October of 20.
Is it your position that you're under an oral lease agreement? Do you have a written lease agreement with the defendants?
I did not have one no, it's just oral.
And what is the monthly rent under that agreement?
It is $450.
And at some point in time, was there a failure to pay that rent?
Yes, I have not received rent, I believe, since July. So June was the last payment I received, June of 23, and I have not received rent payment on that property since July of 23.
And because there was a failure of the defendants to pay rent, did you prepare a 3-day notice?
Yes.
And I don't know if the court has a copy, but I'm going to direct
I do.
Mr. Okay, I'm going to direct Mr. Johns to what I've labeled as Plaintiff's Exhibit A, which is a copy of the 3-day notice. Do you have a copy of that, Mr. Johns?
Is it on the computer?
It's a copy of your 3-day notice.
I got it right here. If you don't.
Yes, I just pulled it up.
Okay. Can you identify what that document is, Mr. Johns?
It says a 3-day notice, terminating tenancy and to quit.
And is that a copy of the notice that you prepared and served to the defendants?
Correct.
And was it yourself who prepared and served that notice?
Yes.
And at the time that you prepared that notice, what months were owing?
Believe that was in early November, so it was up to November. I hadn't received anything, so I believe November was included in that.
And after serving that notice, did you receive any payment?
No, I have not received any payment since then.
And are you here today just seeking possession of the premises?
Correct. I just want the premise back. At this point, I don't care about the background or anything.
And you understand that we filed this seeking just possession, and that there's no money judgment.
Correct.
That's all that I have for this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Williams, do you have any questions for Mr. Johns?
No, sir.
Ms. Eustace?
No, sir. No,
Ms.
we don't, sir.
Strider?
I mean, who's going to question us?
No.
All right. Mr. Holmes, do you have any other witnesses?
I do not have any other witnesses, but I would ask the court to admit Plaintiff's Exhibit A, which is a copy of the 3-day notice.
And I do have that, and I had seen that Ms. Williams had also shown her copy to the camera. Ms. Williams, do you have any objection to the admission of Plaintiff's Exhibit A, the 3-day notice?
Yeah, I do. I do have the 3-day eviction notice also, but also I have on here from the Community Aid Network. You can see that it's dated 10/11/23, where we were trying to get assistance with paying the rent for $1,950, and we could not get Mr. Johnson to call us back. I left him voicemails, I left him emails, I left everything, and he refused to call me back.
And you'll have a chance to tell your side of the story here momentarily, but I guess all I'm asking is, do you have any objection to the admission of the 3-day notice? Okay.
No, sir.
Eustace, any objection? Any objection, Ms. Eustace?
No, sir.
Mr. Strider?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, it will be admitted. And I don't believe, if I'm understanding correctly, the petitioner has any additional evidence at this time. Ms. Williams, would you like to testify in this matter?
Yes.
Right, would you raise your right hand?
We're trying to get help from one of the churches here.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give and the cross now and hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I think you've frozen up, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Ms. Williams, having been sworn in, if you'd like to tell your side of the story, and I'd be happy to hear that.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Would you like to tell?
Okay, we did get the 3-day eviction notice. We did try to. Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead and tell.
We did get the 3-day eviction notice, and we did go to one of the churches to try to seek help. They were willing to pay $1,950, which was what the total was at that time. And we could not get Mr. Johns to call us back or email us. Heard from him since all this has happened was last Thursday when he called at 10:45 in the morning. And that's it with the whole eviction notice. We were trying to pay it. We did have help that was going to pay it, but they needed to contact him, and we couldn't get him to contact us back.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned some other items. I want to make sure that you've said all that you would like to say. And then when you've finished telling what you'd like to say, I'll give Mr. Holmes an opportunity to answer, or rather ask any questions he might have.
Okay. Pertaining to like the work stuff that I've done.
Anything that you
that
think
what
is important for the
saying?
court to consider.
In the house.
Yes, anything
Okay.
that you think is important.
Let me just read this list. I had to write this down fast. I've removed carpet from the doorway, so it was the living room, and I put tile down. I have pictures of all this stuff also. I shampooed all the floors multiple times. In the second bedroom, the ceiling fan. I removed carpet and padding from in there. Removed the old floor, which was rotten, completely beams because it was rotten. We've replaced the wood. I had to mud and tape the entire room. I sanded it all down. I painted all the trim in there. The hallway, I ripped up linoleum. I ripped up the old floor and I replaced it. The bathroom, I removed the linoleum. I killed the floor and scraped all of the old paint that was on the ceiling off, button taped in there, sanded it, replaced or put up a backsplash or like a border around the entire room. I painted in there, ceiling walls, everything in there. Kitchen, I've mud taped everywhere in this whole house pretty much. I put back, David replaced the hot water tank. I believe like 2 years ago. I'm not sure exact date or anything, but he did a hot water tank. I got a dishwasher for the kitchen. I removed the trim in there. I painted it. The back porch, I had to rip up the floor on the back porch all the way to the joists and replace the floor. There's new plywood down. There's a new back door up. The yard, when I got here, there was so much trash in this yard. I literally had to make like 3 different trips to the dump to get rid of this stuff. There was that much stuff in the yard. With the city was on our butts trying to get rid of all the trash, and the stuff was in the yard. And I got it to where it was, we don't have to worry about the city or anything anymore, but I mean, this is a lot of work, you know what I mean? I've busted my tail here, and I mean, to be shot down with an agreement that Mr. John said Thursday that he was going to help us out. I didn't ask him for that. He called me on Thursday, said he would pay us to get out of his house. Now we were depending on that money to be able to move out of here, and now can't because that backfired. So where do I stand with all this work that I've done?
Okay. Now, I don't want you to feel like.
And I can show pictures.
What's that?
Before and after pictures.
Okay. I mean, if you want to show some of those pictures as much as they're to be seen on the screen, I'm happy to look at some of those.
Let me make sure I flip them the right way. Oh, wrong way, sorry. Okay, this is the kitchen, the air conditioner and the trim that's around the air conditioner.
Glass to see these a little better. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not sure what that is. That's the ceiling and the paint that was in the kitchen. This is the back porch and the floor. And it's all, see how rotten it is and how the gapping and the door. There's the ceiling, more area where I painted. Oh, sorry. This is what our outlets look like. They were so full of roaches. The roaches were packed in these outlets. And I kid you not, there was by the thousands. There was so many roaches. That is the kitchen window. The floor. This is the hallway, the floor that I replaced in the hallway. What is this one? That's just some debris or whatever that I got rid of. Here, we'll see the pictures. Sorry. These are our kitchen cabinets. That's the floor in the bedroom after it's gotten laid, I'm pretty sure. That's the new one. This is the wall in the kitchen and the paint chipping off. And it's like that all the way around the kitchen. Was like that. The cracks in the entire, the whole wall had to be mudded. This is the ceiling light in the kitchen. There's no cover. It's just out. It's exposed. Our stove looked like this. It didn't even work. The oven part didn't even work. Hello?
I can hear you.
Am I on here?
Yeah. I
Okay.
can hear
The
you.
oven didn't work. I apologize. The oven didn't work. The top burners did, but the oven did not. I replaced the stove. This was the bathroom. The whole, I had to chip away paint. There was so many layers of paint in the bathroom that I had to take a scraper to the bathroom walls to get the old paint off. The huge cracks, I don't know if you can see them or not. The ceiling up there, there was so much paint. This was the bathroom door with huge holes in it. The light fixtures in the bathroom and the chipped paint holes in the bathroom. This is our kitchen, what the corners looked like in our kitchen. That's the ceiling in the kitchen.
Not bad.
This was okay, between our back porch and our kitchen, there's another doorway right there. And that's what the doorway looks like or looked like. This is the bathroom door on the inside of the bathroom. That's the hallway in the kitchen. The bathroom ceiling. Kitchen. The kitchen. This is between the front room and the kitchen, that doorway. This is the floor in the bathroom and part of the wall. This is right in the doorway of the kitchen with all the chip paint. I'm not sure what that is. This is it's like this in every bedroom. There's no vent covers at all whatsoever. There's just big holes. In the living room too. With stuff falling out or whatever. Our air conditioner unit in the kitchen. This is the trim and the air conditioner around it. This is the floor to the back porch that we replaced. This was the second bedroom window. They were both covered like this with this red paint or whatever it was. The ceiling fan that I replaced, this is the old one. And this is the floor in the second bedroom that I replaced. That's what's going to be for the next few pictures, is that floor and the hallway floor. It was completely rotten the whole way. It was just rotten all the way. We had to put support up on the beams, on the joist, to support the joist so that the whole house wouldn't fall in, pretty much. This is the new ceiling fan. It's white. It's nice. It's got globes. It's got all that nice stuff on there. This is the bedroom floor. How rotten it was. The hot water tank that's new, and the new paint in the back porch. This is the floor. I have not replaced the tile on the back porch floor, so this is just kind of a cover or whatever that she had thrown down just real quick. It's not permanent. That's just covering it up so that she wouldn't get splinters. That's the paint on the back porch, the new paint. This is some of the debris and some of the trash that I removed out of the house. More debris, more trash. Same here. And this is the back porch floor that we had to replace. Same back porch floor. And the door. That's a hot water tank. This is the busted out windows that we've had to replace. This is the hallway floor. And here's the bathroom with the new backsplash, with the new paint and all that stuff up there. That is my tile job in the living room. When you walk in the front door, this is the tile that I put down. The kitchen backsplash behind the sink. Bathroom, after it's done, bathroom, 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 the stove, the new stove. This is the mud and tape job that's still in the kitchen that I'm yet to paint the kitchen, but there's still, I've mudded and taped it all the way around it. It's been sanded, all that stuff. This is the doorway between the kitchen and the back porch that had to be completely mudded. All that stuff had to be sealed in. So it's been mudded, sanded, and there's the new floor on the back porch. This is the bathroom floor where I ripped up the old linoleum. You can see beside the tub where it needs to be replaced. It needs to just come out because it's rotten. It needs to come out. There's a better picture of it. The old stove, the new one, and this is the front room floor again. That's the new hallway floor. And that's it.
All right. Do you have anything else you wanted to add, ma'am? I've seen all those pictures and I've heard your other testimony.
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Holmes, do you have any questions for Ms. Williams?
Just one. Ms. Williams, you don't dispute that the rent is unpaid, is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay, that'll be all your.
All right. Miss Eustace, do you have anything that you'd like to say in terms of, do you want to be sworn and testify?
No, sir.
All right. And Mr. Strider, do you wish
No.
to be sworn? Okay. Do you have any other witnesses, Miss Williams?
No, sir.
All right. If you're likewise, sorry?
That comes over here quite a bit here right now that can witness to all this work that I've done here.
Well, I think
if that matters. I don't know.
I think I've seen the photograph, so I think that's probably the best evidence. So if you don't have anything further, ma'am, I'll inquire, Mr. Holmes, do you have anything by way of a closing statement?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Williams, anything you want to say to kind of sum up your evidence and having heard the testimony of the petitioners?
No, there's nothing from us, sir. No,
All right. Ms. Eustace, anything by way of a closing statement?
I think
Ms. Eustace, any closing statement, ma'am?
I think he was talking to you, Andrew. A closing statement. No, sir. No, I don't.
Mr. Strider?
You said it all.
Yes, I got a question.
Go ahead.
What's gonna happen? I mean, since I moved out of there up in July, I mean, is my end done or no?
Well, basically, they're just seeking return of the premises. So that's all that's being sought here. And it sounds like you're not there anyway and haven't been for half a year or more. So, okay. If there's nothing further, then the court has considered the evidence, and in all candor, this is, you know, an interesting case in as much as there are some kind of balances and counterbalances for the court to consider. But at the same time, it also is a relatively straightforward case in as much as the parties are either, as is the case with Mr. Strider, already having left the premises, or
Oh, no, die,
as
please.
seems to be the
Don't.
case with Miss Williams and Miss Eustace are poised to leave the premises anyway. It does seem that for her part, Miss Williams has some talent as a handy person and seems to have some knowledge that she's tried to apply to make the place where she was residing better for herself and for her roommates. And at the same time, I haven't heard any testimony whatever that there was any sort of agreement between Miss Williams and Mr. Johns to undertake that work, or to undertake that work for a fee, or to undertake that work in lieu of rent, or in any other fashion, an indication that there was an agreement along those lines. And I think that it's, you know, on some level, you know, somehow painful to our hearts as we kind of consider the equities as we're viewing them from our own point of view. But I think that most of us who have lived in a rental property have from time to time done things, maybe not so extensive as what was done here, but we have done things to make our own environment better, and with really no discussion with the landlord and with no expectation that there would be any sort of an offset for the things that we had done. I believe that's what happened here, and I do believe that to the extent that you know, any offset may have been due, there is the acquiescence on the part of Mr. John to seek only return of the property, and to, in so doing, forego what appears to be several months of rent as a gesture on his part, it would seem, to try to either acknowledge the work that was done, or the relationship he has with the parties, or the kindness in his heart to only seek to get his property returned, or some combination of those things. But I am going to find that the possession of the property should return to Mr. Johns. And I would ask you, Mr. Holmes, if you would please to prepare a journal entry along those lines.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If there's nothing further, then we'll be in recess. Thank you, everyone. All right, and I think that just leaves the one case. Counsel, give me just a second. I apologize. I have not had a chance to review this file. I'm going to go off camera and off mic just for a moment, and then we can take up this matter.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Just a second. I apologize. I have not had a chance to review this file. I'm going to go off camera and off mic just for a moment, and then we can take up this matter.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. My Wi-Fi cut out really bad. I did not hear what you just said. The last part completely, you just said that you were going to.
I had made a finding in favor of Mr. Johns for the reasons I had indicated, and I have asked the counsel for Mr. Johns, Mr. Holmes, to prepare an order along those lines. And Ms. Williams, you may be frozen up, but you are free to log out of the meeting. Thank you, ma'am.
So we're free to go. And am I good to file a lien now on the property for all the work? Can I
Ma'am,
still do that?
I am going to allow you to do whatever you want to do within the confines of the law, but I'm not going to give you legal advice. But you are free to log out of the meeting. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir. Have a great day. The whole time.